Welcome to the High Ground Podcast. I'm Stevie W.
And Callum.
So we're going to continue with the Indiana our celebration, our year-long celebration of Raiders of the Lost Ark, which turns 40 this year, by just looking at the sequels. So, of the existing Indiana Jones sequels, which is Temple of Doom, Last Crusade, which, okay, Temple of Doom, technically not a sequel, it's a prequel, Last Crusade and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Which is your favourite, just off the top of your head?
Oh, Last Crusade. I didn't even need to think about it.
I have a soft spot for. I mean, Last Crusade is a perfect sequel, but I've got such a soft spot for Temple of Doom.
Oh yeah, I do like Temple of Doom. It's the one, I suppose, like, of the original trilogy. Well, when it was a trilogy, that everyone thought was like the quote unquote worst, wasn't it? Like, of the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like it. I mean, when you know the background behind it, you can see why it's dark and quite violent.
And it's like divorce, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, so I probably wouldn't have made a happy film.
No. But to me, it was the first one Indiana Jones film I saw at the cinema, so I got such a soft spot for it, and you know, Star Wars was no more. It's 1984, so it was good to get a little bit of a George Lucas, Harrison Ford fix.
Yeah. With
Temple of Doom, and you grow. I mean, when you grow up. I mean, Return of the Jedi. Well, even though it has Ewoks in it, the amount of death that's in Return of the Jedi. So, Temple of Doom is a real natural progression. So, but Last Crusade, in '89, is the perfect sequel.
Yeah, I mean, it's the one I watched first. As probably, if you're listening to this for a while now, you know that all my first viewings of these franchises were out of order. So I think I watched Last Crusade first, and then Temple of Doom, and then Raiders. So I watched it in pretty much the wrong order. But I always felt like Indy was like a film series you could watch out of order, like James Bond. Like, there's no. I mean, it's more. I suppose it rewards you a bit more if you do watch it in the order they were made, but you can watch them sort of as self-contained adventures, if you like.
Yeah, the serialized.
That's the strength that they have. Like they've all got good set pieces, good stories, good acting. You know, they just feel natural no matter what order you watch them in.
Yeah, it's a traditional serialization, and you can literally just delve into it. I mean, the original concept of we keep going on about Star Wars, but was you're walking into something that's already started, so that's why you start with episode 4. And with Indiana Jones, you can just walk in to the Saturday matinee, and it's the strength, good guy, clean cut, good guys, bad guys, and it's just pure brilliance. It is, and the character resonates. He does. And like Indiana Jones, with the exception of the 4th one, he has a different girl in each film. Not like Indiana Jones, I mean like James Bond. Like James Bond, he has a different girl in each film, so it's just,
And somehow no STDs whatsoever.
Exactly. At least he doesn't drink as much as James Bond.
No, he doesn't, no. He drinks a bit when he thinks Marion's dead, doesn't he? But, you don't ever really see him. I don't know, like, the only party scene I can think of is in Temple of Doom, actually. Like, it's the monkey brain scene.
Yeah.
Because the rest of them don't really have like where he suits up and has like a posh dinner.
Oh, Club Obi-Wan, Raiders. Not Raiders.
Oh,
Temple of Doom.
Yeah, same film though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's his party film, I think.
Yeah. Shield Monkey Brains.
Shield Monkey Brains.
And the soup with the eyes in. It was all shock value.
It's quite, I don't know if it's like a bit racist now, but it's not done like in that malicious way, is it? Like
no.
It never came across to me as racist. It's been pointed out that it maybe is a little bit, but I never thought that. I just thought like it's like exotic food that Westerners can't eat.
Yeah.
Ever.
I thought it was all. I mean, for me, it was always about shock value.
Yeah.
And it fits in perfectly with the tone of the series.
Yeah.
And you could argue that we know that they're bad guys because of what they're eating and everything like that. It's something out of the norm.
Yeah. That was the thing that sort of, I wasn't put off, but, like, made me think it was, like, the inferior one when I was younger with Temple of Doom, was that I've just felt the tone was a bit uneven at first, but it's obviously because of, like, real life things were happening to the creators.
Yeah.
But, like, at the time, I don't know if, like, if you'd watched the first one maybe in the cinema and gone into this one, would you have been a bit sort of like, wow, that was different?
Yes, I mean, I was at very early. I wasn't that old when these films came out, but when you're at a young age, for me, something like The Temple of Doom, with the darkness of it, was just like, oh, this is so cool. The ripping out of the heart, the monkey brains, and the skeletons like that.
Yeah, and the guy getting set on fire.
Yeah.
I don't know how that, like. That's sort of, it's like Jaws. I always used to think, like, that's way too disturbing for a PG.
Yeah, but isn't that how in America, they changed was it like PG-13 or something?
Yeah, wasn't this the first film to have it, or Gremlins or something? Was it this one?
I thought it was Temple of Doom. Don't quote me on that, but I thought it was Temple of Doom.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Temple of Doom. Because they were kind of saying, like, it's not dark enough for an R rating, but it's not just, like, it's not tame enough for is it a G over there?
Probably, yeah, I think it could be. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We're talking nearly 40 years from Temple, but it's, yeah, I mean, when you're kids, you love that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is now with the quote-unquote snowflake generation, where studios are too afraid to put anything out that maybe just a little bit too graphic for kids, or slightly because they're going to slap on a bit. There's more violence and more gore, but they're gearing it up to an older audience, whereas the target audience for Temple of Doom were young kids. Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, like, the first one at the end is pretty gruesome when the Nazis get killed with the Ark. There's like exploding heads, and I'm pretty sure, didn't they have to put a flame effect over Paul Freeman's head, exploding head, so that they could get a PG rating?
I mean, that was a PG when it first came out, and
yeah, I know. So I mean, the gruesomeness was already there.
I mean, I didn't like that when I was a kid, because that was gross, even though when you know how they do it, it's like wax face. But it's still gross. And it got PG.
It's not even the exploding head for me, it's the Ronald Lacey one melting.
Yeah, that was...
that used to freak me out.
Same here. Yeah. I got lucky about 20 years ago, I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark on the big screen for the first time. And seeing that on a big screen, it is so much better than watching it on a small TV or a big TV. It doesn't matter how big it is. I mean, audience. Last year we spur of the moment. This is in between lockdowns. We did a screening with a projector of Raiders of the Lost Ark with trailers, era-apparent trailers, and that was so much fun. That was.
That was great. Yeah.
We would have done the other sequels by now if it hadn't been for the lockdown.
Yeah, damn you, COVID.
Yeah. Indiana Jones and the COVID of Doom.
Yeah, that does sound like one of the titles, doesn't it? So what you just said earlier, though, about, like, like the end of what we were saying about the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and like studios don't take risks anymore. I think that's kind of like a little bit what happened with the fourth one, wasn't it? It was quite safe, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There was like a bit too much CG, and it was just I do quite like the fourth one. Like, upon reflection, I think we've done a defence of it before, haven't we? So, but like the tone is fine. Like, it's still indie. I still don't. It's not like a Die Hard 4.
No, Die Hard 4's terrible.
It takes you completely out of it. But I just think, it's probably because it's quite studio safe is the reason a lot of people sort of maybe didn't go for it. You know, when you compare it to, like you say, like Temple of Doom, people getting their hearts ripped out and boxes destroying Nazis' heads and stuff like that, you know.
But Kingdom was, Temple was, in the trilogy, what do you call it, the trilogy, it was set like 1940 serial, and then you've got the, you know, with the Nazis being the villains, but then you've got extra interdimensional beings, aliens. I'm sorry.
You mean aliens? Yeah.
Yeah, aliens and the Russians. So it's 1950s. They tried to go with the times and go with 1950s, which on paper is a really good idea. It just didn't pan out as well. Yeah,
it's quite hard to explain why it doesn't work as well, I think, because like the ingredients are that was one thing I did defend it when people used to be like, oh, there's aliens in it, that's ridiculous, Indiana Jones with aliens, and I'd say, well, hang on a minute, like, is it any more ridiculous than like a box that kills Nazis and a guy that rips hearts out with his bare hands and the Holy Grail? Like, they all have like MacGuffins.
Yeah.
So like, I've never had a problem with the aliens on it. It was just, it's quite hard to put your finger on what's wrong with it. And not even the fridge scene annoys me that much, because again, it's like a serial, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, the minecart sequence is dumb in that respect, because there's no way you can control a minecart like that, but it's enjoyable, like, that's all it is.
For me, it lost something in the execution. Great idea, but the overuse of CG, over practical. That was a major.
Lucas wrote it.
Yeah, this is one of like George's. He loves CG, but I mean, it's all stuff that you put on paper. You know, that if you were to do it, you know, because everyone that's a critic who even people that have never studied film, they've always got an opinion, and sadly it's these people that are the ones that make it harder for everybody else. And I will stand up and admit, if I was to do the same thing, I'd have made all the same mistakes they made.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't see that. They just say, oh, it sucks.
Yeah, there's probably not a lot of other ways you could have done it, really, is there?
No.
I mean, even in Kingdom of Crystal Skull, it's been so long since an indie film that, like, you know, when you see the shadow of him picking his hat up, like, you still get a chill. Like, you still have some forward doing it.
And the music.
And the music. Yeah. I'm glad they did that. Like, John Williams back, because there's no other. Who else could do it?
No. I mean, I'm hoping they're going to bring John back for 5 because keep continuity.
Yeah. Or at least.
You got your hand over, I think you got your hand over your mic, dude.
Oh, sorry. Or at least to oversee it, you know, like he did with the sequel trilogy, Star Wars.
I mean, with who's it that's doing? The guy who did Logan's doing 5, isn't he?
Oh, James Mangold?
Yeah.
No, is it not Spielberg?
No, Spielberg has stepped down. So I'll find out. I'm going to put it up. Indiana Jones 5. Titled Indiana Jones Project 2022. Yeah, James Mangold. Writers Philip Kaufman, Jonathan Kirsten, and David Coop. I mean, you do need. I really want this one to be good. I mean,
yeah, David Coop's a bit hit and miss though sometimes with screenplays.
Oh.
I mean, he did Jurassic Park, but he also did Independence Day.
Oh, I'm not a fan of Independence.
I'm sure he did.
Independence Day, overrated. I've said Mars Attacks from the same period.
I used to love it when I first... See, I was the opposite way around. I never liked Mars Attacks, but I liked Independence Day. But, yeah, it's pretty shite now, wasn't it?
Yeah. I dragged to cinema to see the sequel.
Yeah, so was I. My dad wanted to see it.
My fiance wanted to see it.
And I suppose because I took him to see episode 9. No, not episode 9. What year was it?
There's India. I actually don't know that one. I kind of tried to forget it.
I think it might have been Last Jedi, actually.
Payback movies. I'm going to see this with you. You're going to see this with me.
Yeah.
Now, so what's your highlight of one? If you can pick one scene that stands out in any of the sequels, which one is it?
Well, it's going to be like a sort of cliche, cheesy moment, but I really, really love the end of Last Crusade when, you know, when he's saying like, "I can almost get it, Dad," and he's like, Indiana, just let it go. I love that moment. I just think it's the only time you refer to him with the name he likes to be referred to get through to him, but it doesn't matter. Even the guy that's obsessed with the Grail knows just to let it go. And I really like that they have such a great relationship on screen and such a good chemistry. I think it's great.
And the whole handing of the torch.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with something similar. I'm going for the scene straight afterwards. For me, it's the ending. And as the music kicks in as they ride off into the sunset.
Yeah, it's the perfect ending, isn't it?
It is.
They're literally riding off into the sunset.
Yeah. And it's the perfect end to Indiana Jones, so they didn't really need 4 or 5. And, I mean, Crusade, like Raiders of the Lost Ark, is a perfect, fun movie.
Yeah.
It is, and, I mean, right from the start where you find out how Indy got his scar, why he hates snakes, getting the hat. You lost today, kid. You don't have to like it. And
yeah, I like that moment as well.
That pull up to him on the boat, and he's still trying to get the clock across the Coronado. It's just me. I was going to say, may they rest in peace to River Phoenix and Sean Connery and Denham Elliott. Oh,
Denham Elliott. Actually, I thought that guy. You know, the guy that's like that he bases his lip off, that gives him the hat.
Yeah.
I always thought, when I found out that Tom Selleck nearly played him, they should have cameoed him there.
Oh, that would have been good.
I thought that would have been a nice little sort of, you know, it wasn't me, but...
Yeah. Oh. But the bit where, when you know, young Indy, he puts his head down, gets the hat, and looks, and he's up in Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's just the editing as well, isn't it? Like, the fact that you don't see his dad as well at first, you just hear him, and you think, like, oh, I know Sean Connery's in this. Like, is he? And it's just a reveal as well when he just sort of loomed over him and was like, Junior.
Yeah. Oh.
That's just so funny. Whoever thought of that is just
brilliant.
Genius, isn't it?
I got a little bit of a story. This is Last Crusade. I saw it at the Cannon in Northampton. First time.
Was that Northampton? I thought it was Leicester.
Northampton, Cannon in Northampton. You had one in Leicester as well. Cannon. I saw Batman Returns at the Cannon in.
Oh, he's lucky now.
That was a huge cinema. That was. But I remember the scene in which Indy and Henry are on the plane as they're being chased as they've left the Zeppelin. And the bit where you can actually hear it, the sound was. The harmonics in the cinema was so perfect that you can hear before you see the plane that's coming after them. I actually looked. You can hear it from the back of the cinema. And I actually looked up in the cinema because I could see where the noise was coming from, and I just thought that was, to me. I mean, you know, you're sitting in a cinema, but for that brief moment, you could hear it. And I just thought, I thought that was just superb, and it's
like magic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's like watching a magic show. Like, you're thinking, how did they do that? When, like, I can't remember the last time I actually did that, to be honest. I think cinemas are a bit sort of, not sterile, but they don't have that. I seem to remember that more when I was a kid as well, like thinking, wow, where did that come from, sort of thing. Whereas now, a lot of cinemas, you can just hear it behind you.
Yeah. There's no personality to cinemas these days.
No, they're all corporate now, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, they're all like we have now the latest in sound is in this, and
yeah.
I mean, I've said this before, but we had more. We have like 8 or so screens on average per cinema, and yet there's less films in terms of, this is prior to COVID, there's less diversity in cinema.
Yeah, I mean, like 4 of those screens will be showing the same film.
Yeah.
It's not really like doing anything different.
No, it's like the latest Disney film, the latest Disney ripoff from DreamWorks, or another superhero film, or another superhero film that's not the superhero films you want to see, but it's another one. Or you got the action films that the ones that are similar to every Liam Neeson action film that he's done the last few years, because you all like that. And then you've got all the monster films that are based on video games, and you've got the other monster films, then you've got the other superhero films, because that's all you want to watch. Then you've got that one film that's going to be showing in the one screen for one day because nobody else is going to see it. And
yeah.
I remember, there's a lot of the films I used to see at the cinema wouldn't even get cinema releases today because it's not non-profit, and it's not like, oh yeah, when you get Halloween you get the franchise pictures, you don't get the good little ones that you used to get. And
yeah, I mean, I think one of the best experiences, like, the last film I saw in cinema, actually, when we went to Parasite.
Oh, that was brilliant.
And I think that was only available a bit more because of how many Oscars it had won and the publicity. Like, I don't think if it had just been, a film that critics liked, but that was it, I don't think it would have got the release. It was sort of the bombast that surrounded it, kind of thing.
That was a good experience because you're sitting in the cinema and we didn't know what we were going to watch. We just knew it's got Oscars, it's going to be good. And we were like, wow. And you were the youngest one in the cinema.
Yeah, and I liked him as a director before, but I'd only ever seen Snowpiercer, so it was just like anything new from a director that's good, you'll always think, oh yeah, I'll check that out.
So going into the, do you think there is? I mean, we're going slightly off subject, but with the way that people can't stay off the phones for more than 5 minutes, do you think that there is still a place in society for Indiana Jones and another Indiana Jones film?
I think on first reaction, I would say no, we don't need one, because because of the reaction before, I'd be scared that if 5 came out, the way that fans are now on the internet, I think it just sort of, if there was one thing wrong with it, it'd be like, oh, let's boycott this, the usual shit that they do. But when they, from their basements, I mean.
Yeah.
But I don't know. My my knee-jerk reaction was, I don't really want another one in case Sheila Booth again. But I don't know. There is a part of me that still thinks I'd like to see Indy again. Do something. I don't know. What about you?
I want one last good Indiana Jones film.
Yeah.
And as much as I'm not a big fan of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, it is seeing Indiana Jones on the big screen, and that's the thing. It harks back to. They did with Rise of Skywalker something that haven't had a feeling since Return of the Jedi, which is they managed to make a Star Wars film that felt to me like a traditional Star Wars film that made me feel like I felt in '83. Yeah. I want seeing an Indiana Jones sequel that makes me walk out the cinema feeling exactly how I felt in 1989.
Yeah.
I want that. It's like a drug to me. I want that walking out of the cinema and feeling good because I've just seen Indiana Jones on the big screen and it felt like Indiana Jones, and that's what I want. That's all I want. I want to be able to sit there and just have that feeling. And you said about I hate to use the word, but the haters. If Temple of Doom had been released today, you'd have had everybody on the internet going, "This is too dark, not my Indiana Jones."
Oh yeah, it would flop.
Yeah.
So, we said this before, also would Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, easy.
And isn't like that's the criteria like that against which all good sequels are judged, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's the ultimate sequel. So yeah, I think we've done this before where we've thought like which films would have flopped now, and I don't. Raiders might have even flopped.
Pacing is not that fast. I mean, there's a lot.
It's the same as the New Hope, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, we've said this before. The pace on that is quite. It's not massively fast.
No.
It's actually probably quite slow for a lot of people that think, oh yeah, Star Wars is action packed. You know, and it is, but it's more set piece action packed, isn't it? Like there's big battles, and then there's a lull. And you do need that because you still got story to tell.
Yeah.
Even if it was Lucas the Rogue.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's the same with Indy. Like as they got on, I think there was more action scenes, but they still managed to balance it with the story as well. Like Temple of Doom is quite action packed. There's loads of set pieces that happen. Like you've got the trap. You've got like the introduction of the villain, like the minecart sequence. There's loads of stuff, and then the crocodiles at the end.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually quite a lot of action. And then Last Crusade, I mean, you've got loads of stuff. So, but it's good that they balance that out with the storyline as well.
And comedy.
That's kind of what happened in 4, I think. Like there was too much action, and then I don't know, it was weird. It didn't feel like anyone got developed very much. I know you don't need to develop Indy that much, but you didn't really get to know much. I think that's why I never really liked him as a character.
I like the comedic element of it. I thought that was, and anyway, Temple of Doom, like we said, it's not the as funny, but I think if you can bring that into it and into the next one, then that's it. I mean, John Hurt's in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but you don't really think of him as being in it, and Jim Broadbent, and that's two heavyweights.
Yeah.
And it's not the sort of thing you'd imagine them as, John Hurt went on, Alien and 1984 and V for Vendetta. Pardon?
Harry
Potter as well, yeah, and Jim Broadbent, who's, Moulin Rouge and Harry Potter, and you think more of that than Indiana Jones, which you really should think of Indiana Jones first, because Indiana Jones is so iconic. But they get lost under Shia LaBeouf and the CG... what you call it? What are they at the start?
The monkeys.
No, that's terrible. At the start, the gophers.
Oh, and the CG ants as well.
Yeah.
Later on. I don't know. I think Shia LaBeouf was like a little bit sort of the thing then, wasn't he? Because of Transformers, and then he sort of just fell off the map, didn't he? And then came back doing a bit more sort of disturbed roles. But I actually think he's a lot better an actor now than he was then.
Yeah, but he got lumbered with a script. You were just doing what you said you were told to do, and a lot of people forget that. You're like, oh, Shia LaBeouf ruined my childhood. Like, you just reading a script. The same with Jake Lloyd and Ahmed Best. Yeah,
I know. I think he was just the school of Michael Bay, wasn't he?
Yeah. At least they didn't put 21 guns in it. Which is all in one of those Transformers movies. It was like, it's on the radio, 21 guns by Green Day. But I'm not going to hear knock Shia LaBeouf. It was a bad idea. The whole character of Mutt.
I think now because you know the sort of I don't know, like the sort of like the signs. I think they were trying to sort of push a new series with him, weren't they?
Yeah. They say they weren't, but they were.
It didn't quite pan out, but.
No. But I do like the line where he goes, I bet there were loads of girls. What was Marion says about loads of more, they were ever women, but they all had one problem, they weren't you.
Yeah.
And that was like...
it was great seeing Marion again.
Yeah.
I always thought she was the best, like, indie girl.
Definitely.
In fact, like, you look back and you think, I understand Temple of Doom because it's a prequel, so they're probably a different girl. But, I mean, Willie is so annoying, like with the screaming and the, oh god, like even Elsa Schneider's a bad guy and she's not that annoying.
But the good thing about it is Steven Spielberg got a wife out of it.
He did indeed, yeah.
So that's the good thing about Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Steven Spielberg got a wife out of it.
Oh, she's just so annoying though, isn't she, in it?
Yeah.
She's like the same level of annoyance as Kim Basinger in Batman.
Yeah.
You know, the constant screaming. It's just that really annoys me from like older films now when I watch them back, and there's a lot horror films as well where there's a lot of screamers, and you just think, oh my god, just shut up.
But you know, I suppose you could argue that if Willie Scott wasn't so bad, you wouldn't be glad that he goes back with Marion.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
You know, he needed to have a bit of Willie in his life.
Yeah.
uh,
He deliberately called her that, didn't he?
Yeah. But I think we can safely say our favourite one is definitely Last Crusade.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I was going to assume it was yours as well, but then when you said about the ending, I think, yeah. So, I mean, we pretty much chose the same moment, but
yeah,
a few scenes apart.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't collaborate on this, by the way,
no,
everyone. This
was
off the cuff.
Yeah, this is we've got quite a few of these coming this year, and so yeah, this is one we just decided to do this morning. So
yeah.
So we will go in a little bit more in depth into each of the sequels. So this has been Indiana Jones, the sequels and the prequel, because Temple of Doom is a prequel.
It is.
I'm Stevie W.
I'm Callum.